Welcome back and thanks for stopping by for what is a very special episode. We're celebrating the 30th anniversary of Pearl Jam's Vitalogy. It was released on the 22nd of November 1994 and I'm going to do an album review in honour of this brilliant and essential Pearl Jam album. So let's dive straight in. This was released in 1994. So basically grunge was kind of reaching its peak or just starting to wane, and this album was brought out. It was something completely different by Pearl Jam in comparison to the previous two albums, 10 and Versus. So it actually was a very successful album. So it broke a lot of records. This album was released on vinyl originally because Pearl Jam were big fans of vinyl and they weren't happy that the first two albums went straight to CD. So as a result, it was released on vinyl first and followed on with CD and cassette releases 2 weeks later. So that helped to boost the vinyl sales to 34,000 copies in the first week, which was the most vinyl sales in a week from 1991 up to that point, and it kept the record until 2014 when Jack White released his album Lazaretto on vinyl. Obviously now vinyl sales have completely exploded with the vinyl revival and revolution, but Pearl Jam were going old school on vinyl before it became popular again, I suppose. So my copy is actually on CD, and it's pretty tattered, to be honest. You can see it there. It's a gatefold sleeve, cardboard sleeve, to try and replicate the vinyl packaging. And then upon its release on CD, Vitalogy became the second fastest selling album in history, behind the band's previously released Versus. And this album, Vitalogy, sold 877,000 copies in its first week, going multi-platinum. The style on this one, totally different from the previous two albums. The band had decided at this point they weren't releasing any videos to promote any of the songs, so album sales didn't seem to suffer because of that. In terms of touring, the band had at this point decided to cut themselves off from the Ticketmaster supply chain, and they had decided to go and organise their own gigs in support of this album. It didn't really work. Apparently they couldn't get venues, they couldn't get people to come to gigs because people didn't know about it, and it was very hard for them to tour on the back of this album. There was some very interesting things happening with the band around this time. So Mike McCready, the lead guitar player, he was actually in and out of rehab for most of the recording of the album. So he doesn't appear on a lot of the songs, and you can notice there's a lot less guitar solos in Vitalogy in comparison to 10 and Versus, the previous two albums. So that's a bit unfortunate that Mike wasn't as involved. In terms of the drummer, Dave Abruzzese, tensions were reaching an absolute boiling point during the recording of this album. Eddie Vedder in particular did not get on with Dave Abruzzese at the time. And I suppose they come from different worlds. Like Dave Abruzzese, he's from Texas, he's from the South. He likes guns, owns guns and stuff like that. Eddie was very much a liberal person, didn't believe in guns, wouldn't have had that ethos, you know. Eddie grew up just outside Chicago and then moved to San Diego when he was in his early 20s and didn't really blend with Dave Abruzzese. So Dave left about 3/4 of the way through the recording sessions, and Pearl Jam's friend Jack Irons, who had previously been in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, had to come in and fill in on some of the tracks to get the album over the line. So when the album was released, Dave had already left the band. Very unfortunate because he was a great drummer. His contributions on this album and Versus were absolutely fantastic. A lot of people say he's their favourite drummer of Pearl Jam, but unfortunately he had to leave. Then there was also tension in the band in terms of who the band leader was and who the primary songwriter was. Stone and Jeff had written basically all the music on 10, but now Eddie had started writing music on Versus, and he does it a lot more now on Vitalogy. So Eddie was becoming the frontman for the band, he was becoming the primary songwriter, and he was also picking up the guitar and writing his own songs. So there was a bit of a clash there between Stone and Eddie, and it was said at the time the band was thinking of breaking up at that point. Didn't happen, luckily, and they stayed together. They got back on track. This album was nominated for a Grammy Award for Spin the Black Circle. Now, I don't think Spin the Black Circle is a great song. I don't think it's the best song on this album, but it's interesting because Pearl Jam were also nominated for a Grammy for next year's Grammy Awards 2025, the 67th Grammys, and they were awarded for the song Dark Matter, which again, I don't think Dark Matter is the best song on their latest album, Dark Matter. So it's a bit odd. It must come down to what was released as a single within a certain time frame that gets put forward. If you ever see Eddie Vedder's acceptance speech for this award, you can clearly see he just doesn't care about it, and he really gives the middle finger to the Grammys. And I'm actually surprised they got nominated again, but it just goes to show how clueless the Grammys really are. They really don't matter that much. We'll just jump into the tracks now. To be honest, there's 3 very distinct categories of song on this album. So the categories are amazing, mediocre, and pure crap. So I think it's very easy to see which songs fit into which category, in my opinion, from listening through this album again. So the first song, Last Exit, is a mediocre song. It's run-of-the-mill, it's average enough. And Spin the Black Circle, again, not one of Pearl Jam's best songs, but won a Grammy Award. So very unusual. But that fits in the mediocre category. Then, in my opinion, Not For You, fantastic song. Absolutely brilliant. And that is one of their best songs. And then we move on to Tremor Christ, which is total crap. I don't think it's a good song at all. Don't get what they're trying to do here. And then we go on to Nothing Man, which again, co-written by Jeff Ament, and an absolutely fantastic song. One of Pearl Jam's best songs. But then we move on to Whipping, which is mediocre. Pride 2, which is crap. And then we have Corduroy, again, a brilliant rocker, led by Eddie Vedder. It's an absolutely fantastic song. Sounds great live. One of their better songs for sure. Then we have Bugs and Satan's Bed, which are both crap to me. Better Man, again, one of Pearl Jam's best songs. So this album, it goes up and down. It's actually very hard to listen to this album the whole way through and have consistency. There's a great song, followed by a poor song, followed by a great song, followed by a mediocre song. It constantly keeps going up and down the whole way through the album. But look, that's what the band wanted to do, I suppose. The next song is Aya da Venita. And again, that's in the crap bucket. Don't think that's a good song at all. That's followed by Immortality. Again, a fantastic song, one of Pearl Jam's best, definitely up there. And then it finishes off with Hey Foxy Mop Handle Mama, That's Me. Otherwise known as Stupid Mop Song. Jack Irons actually plays drums on this, but again, it's crap. So, you know, it's not one I listen to very often. So yeah, this album, it's not a perfect album by any matter or means. It's definitely got its low points. It's got high points as well though. And the high points, the songs that I mentioned that were on the upper tier, so I'm talking here about Not For You, Nothing Man, Corduroy, Better Man, and Immortality. Those 5 tracks are outstanding, in my opinion. Absolutely brilliant. And if this was released as an EP with those 5 tracks on it, I think it would have been absolutely perfect. But contractual obligations, everything else, they were required to release an album. They were a hot band at the time, and they decided to put this album together. But I think a lot of the songs on this are really a middle finger to the system. The whole music industry. I think they were just basically taking the piss here on a lot of the songs. So yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely an interesting album. Now, any of you who follow me, you may not be aware, but I actually play in a Pearl Jam cover band. So a lot of Pearl Jam's material is very close to me. I've been very familiar with it over the last few years. And we're actually playing a gig in Dublin, in Fibber McGee's, next Thursday night. So if you are from Ireland or from Dublin and you want to come see my band play, it's a Pearl Jam cover band. We do all Pearl Jam songs in our own style. Please check us out. We're probably on stage around 9:30, 10 o'clock on Thursday the 28th of November. And it's in Fibber McGee's in Dublin. So that's all for this video. 30th anniversary of Pearl Jam Vitalogy. So go check it out, guys. It's definitely an essential Pearl Jam album, even though there's some stuff in there that I don't necessarily think is great. But I hope you enjoy, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye now.